Are you planning on running the Goggins 4x4x48 Ultra Marathon Challenge? So I'm a registered sport nutritionist and ultra runner, and I've worked with many clients doing this, and I want to share with you some of the tips that I've given to them that have enabled them to have a successful race. So no matter if you are an experienced ultra runner already, or if you are just looking to challenge yourself with this, these tips can be applied, and I'm going to teach you some of the real sport nutrition strategies, as well as some practical foods, what to eat and how to plan it so that you can enable yourself to have a successful challenge. Okay, let's start with what it is. 4x4x48, you're running 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. Now, to succeed with this, you need to have a plan. So I want you to put pen to paper and actually write down all of the tips that you're going to be getting in this so that you know what you're doing food-wise for the next 48 hours through your race. You don't want to be thinking, oh God, I've got no food in, or having to nip to the shops, because you want to be sleeping as much as you can between refueling and running. Okay, so the first consideration here. How hard is it? Well, this is a pretty hard challenge. However, it's made a lot harder when we get our nutrition wrong. And the key thing that most people get wrong is they forget to fuel. Because the runs themselves are fairly short, 4 miles, you don't necessarily need to fuel during, but the key thing is that if we don't then refuel appropriately afterwards, by the time you progress after 24, 36 hours, the last few runs are going to be miserable. We want to fix that, although that may not be in true Goggins spirit, where it's just eat a rice cake and have some water and muscle through it. We want to make this as enjoyable as possible for you. So we're going to use food to your advantage. So the first thing I want you to consider is when you're going to sleep, because that's going to impact the food choices that we have. This is why I recommend starting at about 6 p.m. because that means your first feeding is going to be about 7 p.m. Why have I put it here? Because that means when you finish after 48 hours, you'll have done your last run at 6 p.m. You can then eat, and then you'll be going to bed at a normal time, having had time to wind down after your last run. So you're not completely destroying your circadian clock. You've only destroyed it for 48 hours of having really interrupted sleep, and then you can get back into your circadian clock straight away. So let's look at when you're going to sleep. You might try and steal an hour in here, but it's unlikely. After you get back, you're probably going to be going to bed here so this is your run here at about 10. You're going to get back and you're going to eat. So all of these black bits of text are when you're going to eat. I would then recommend trying to get to bed as soon after eating as you can. So this might be 11:45 or 12. You're going to be sleeping in here. All of the green pens are going to be sleep. So then we're going to run at 2, get back, eat 3 a.m, go to bed 3:30. Up until when you need to run again at 6 a.m. That's going to be mimicked down here. So these are our sleep windows. That becomes important in a second when I talk about what types of food we're going to be eating. So what I would recommend to try and do a little bit of prep but not be overcomplicating food is to prepare a meal ahead of time, a big rice dish that has very low fiber. So take out all the vegetables, just have a rice dish. Maybe it's something like a kedgeree dish or a mushroom fried rice, something like that, where you can have a big portion of it. You can make 3 of them in advance, and we can program them in. You've got them in the fridge ready to go. So we're going to have a big rice dish in here. We're going to have that exact same thing because you've made multiple portions of it. There. We could potentially have it in lunches depending on how you're feeling. So we're going to have that there, and you may want to have it here just to get something in, or afterwards it may be more of a celebratory meal, because realistically afterwards you can have whatever you want. That might be the massive pizza you've been looking forward to. That's enabling you to get through all of this. 11 p.m. So you've done 2 runs now. We're getting back. But remember, we're going to be going to bed soon after. So this is something we want to be able to eat super quick and be able to get to bed. So maybe something like a couple of slices of toast, maybe some toasted malt loaf with a really tall glass of orange juice or a sports drink. Get that down you so that we're kickstarting our recovery immediately. So we want something very light. This could be toast and juice. The amount of carbohydrate we're looking for here is about 0.8 to 1 grams per kilogram of body weight. So if you're 80 kilos, 0.8 is going to be 64 grams of carbohydrate in that meal. we're looking to get roughly that amount coming in all of these. So not having a huge amount of protein in this one just because we don't want to put loads of stuff that requires digestion in. Quick carbs so that you can get to sleep easily. Then you're doing your run in the middle of the night, and afterwards, this is where you've got two options. So if you're someone who just loves sweet, this is an opportunity for those hyper palatable foods. So that might be a massive flapjack, it might be a big brownie, a big cookie. I would also pair it with some fluid. So something like a sweet hot chocolate. So have a hot chocolate but add extra table sugar to it. So we want cookie and hot chocolate. If you're not a big fan of sweet, then other savory options would be something like a pot noodle. Also, fantastic option here. Again, requires zero prep time, well, like 1 or 2 minutes. You can prepare it, it's gonna be hot, so if you're doing this in winter, it's gonna be nice and warming. You've got an option there. I would then mimic that here again. Then hopefully you're getting off to sleep. The reason the pot noodle is good as well, it's nice and salty, so if you're a heavy sweater, you might be craving more of the salty things. Sleeping, then running at 6 a.m, getting back, we want breakfast foods. So this is where big cereal bowl. I've spelt cereal wrong. Big bowl of cereal. I would add fruit to this as well, but I would really try and have it as cereal that's quite light, easy to digest. So kids cereal, Frosties, Cocoa Pops, that's where you're getting the green light for these. Have a banana, yes, have some citrus fruit afterwards if you want, just to lift up the amount of carbohydrate. Then you're probably doing some bits in your morning, you're running about 10 a.m, you're getting back. This is a type of lunch meal. So this could be one of your rice dishes, because you've already prepped this, or it could be an option like some sandwiches. Again, mid-afternoon, this might be sandwiches. Sandwich, so a couple of rounds of sandwiches. I'd probably have savory options in there because you're going to be quite bored of sweet for the 48 hours here. So maybe really thin bit of cheese, a little bit of salad, but not too much because we don't want a huge amount of fiber coming in. Marmite, a fantastic addition just to get more sodium in. You're not going to need loads of electrolytes throughout all of this if you've got some high salt snacks coming in from the food. Now, do we just mimic this? We can do. It's going to make it easier for you to plan. You can then just buy double the amount, which I'd probably recommend, unless you're thinking, oh, it's an opportunity for something different, in which case take the same sort of themes and just vary it a little bit. The final thing I want to mention here is caffeine, because this is another reason where people get it wrong. So instead of having caffeine before all of them, which is then going to impair sleep quality, it's going to mean that these little golden windows where you should be sleeping and recovering are going to be compromised. We don't want that to happen, so let's use caffeine strategically. I would recommend then having caffeine just before this one. So before you set off here, and maybe before this one. In the daylight hours, your body is already awake. So these runs will feel easier than these ones. So we don't necessarily need to have a huge amount of caffeine coming in. You're probably going to be quite high on adrenaline through these. So we probably don't need to have much caffeine here and here and here. You probably have one if you're a habitual caffeine user in the morning. So just have that normal one. This might be an extra top up. By that time, you'll metabolize the caffeine before going to bed. Get through these will be quite tough, and then we can throw in more caffeine here and here if we need to, which should get you through the last few. If you want to use, if you're a big caffeine head, then potentially have a little top up here and here if you're really struggling. This would be something like a caffeine gel, though I wouldn't have a huge amount. This is just minimal effective dose in here if you need it. Final thing to mention is having something in here that you really like to eat. Because the temptation is in these ones, having been going for over 24 hours now, is you're going to be really tired. You're going to want to just do the run and get off to sleep. So you want some foods that you look forward to. So if having the cookie, if you're not really a big fan of cookie, find something else that you really want to eat. At this stage, something is better than nothing. So have something, ideally with some carbohydrate. It can have some fat in it because you've got some time to digest it and metabolize it, but I wouldn't have a huge amount of fiber in there. Hopefully this has been helpful. If you've enjoyed it, please pop a comment. If you do it and you utilize this plan, again, please comment and let me know how you get on, and feel free to subscribe to my channel.